Everybody doing? Good. My name's Jason. I sang here for about 6 months, a little over a year ago on Saturdays. I'm really glad to be back. Welcome. We're going to be doing a song by Bob Marley, and I think it's pretty fitting, the lyrics, so you'll know the song and like the song. And I'm really excited to be here, so let's get the song started. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Rise up this morning, smile at the rising sun. 3 little birds beside my doorstep, singing sweet songs of melodies pure and true. Singing, this is my message to you. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Rise up this morning, smile at the rising sun. 3 little birds beside my doorstep, singing sweet songs of melodies pure and true. Singing, this is my message to you. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. I won't worry, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. I won't worry, don't worry about a thing. No, I won't worry, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Please don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Well, things are a little bit different this morning because Cintisha and Mike aren't here. Anyway, I want to welcome all of you to Unity of Boulder. Unity of Boulder is an all-inclusive church center, and our ministry is all about that. Our ministry is all about drawing people into the awareness that we are all interconnected, and we're all part of a greater intelligence that has a greater plan. And as we attune ourselves to that particular intelligence, that plan becomes part of living our lives effectively, beautifully, joyfully, lovingly, and in a very healthy, beautiful manner. So that's what Unity of Boulder is all about. It's experiential. We're not talking about some distant heaven or distant God. We're talking about a very present intelligence and love that's available to each of us. Because God, in fact, is omnipresent. The only difficulties we have is that we're not always present. We're off in our heads somewhere trying to contrive something we think we need or something we thought we lost. And in fact, we are divine beings going through a human experience. All right, so welcome to all of you. And I have no idea what the next phase of our program is. Are you guys going to sing again? All right, well, look. What? Do you have any announcements? Yeah, the only announcements that I have is that Cintisha and Mike will be back next Sunday. And we still have, just go online to unityofboulder.com. You can find out all of our classes and the things that we're involved in doing in our ministry, which is going 24/7. So you can tune into that, and we'll let these people share another beautiful song, a little bit of happiness.
Good morning, everyone. Just want to introduce our guests for today. We've got Elle and Al, who have both graced our stage before, and both of them are a performing duo from the Fort Collins area. Telling me in the back they're just newlyweds, so congratulations on that. Elle is a retired music teacher. Al performs, we've seen him here with Steve Hoffman a few times, and they're going to start with one of Al's originals, Speak With Your Eyes.
Your eyes, it's a universal language. Talk with your heart to me. Utter your words without lip or tongue. Look with the heart till you see. There is a world that we cannot see, though it be all around. Close your eyes and search your soul till it's found. Speak with your eyes, it's a universal language. Talk with your heart to me. Utter your words without a lip or tongue. Look with the heart till you see. Life is a journey we all must take, though sometimes joyless it seems. Inside the voice of your heart cries out with your dreams. universal language. Talk with your heart to me. Utter your words without a lip or tongue. Look with the heart till you see. You read about it in your books. It's whispered on the wind. You see it's formed in the changing skies, never ending. Speak with your eyes. Talk with your heart to me. Speak with your eyes. Look with the heart till you see. Speak with your eyes. Speak with your eyes. Speak with your eyes to me. Speak with your eyes. Speak with your eyes.
Really cool music today. We're getting hip. What's that? Yeah, you can move them over a little bit. Just move them over. We'll have to take them off. Good morning again, everyone. You know, when people are facing a difficult challenge, they often will say, I need a miracle. And most of the time when people say that, they are looking for some cosmic intervention in their lives. They see their God or this source of power is somewhere else outside of them, and they're hoping that it will intervene in their circumstances and solve their particular problem or heal their particular situation. So when they say, I need a miracle, they really don't understand what miracles are. And people continue to have a limited idea of God healing and miracles because we're born into a world that has been conditioned by a powerful church, a number of powerful, religions. And certainly, the Catholic religion has done its share to condition people to believe that God is outside of them, somewhere else, beyond the stars, somewhere out there, is where heaven is, and that's where God resides. And somehow or other, praying is about getting God attention. You have to get God's attention that there's something going on here. We need you to come in and take care of. And so the whole idea of God has held people in a limited perspective of life. And that's why we don't really understand miracles and we don't understand healing. So I want to share this with you today. And I'm going to try to skirt the trouble I can get into by giving this kind of talk. I'm going to have you help me skirt that trouble. But I'm going to begin by reading from the Gospel of Matthew chapter 9 and getting into a boat he crossed over and came to his own city. When they say he, they're talking about the master of life, Jesus Christ. And behold, they brought to him a paralytic lying on his bed. And when Jesus saw that they had faith, he said to the paralytic, "Take heart, my son, your sins are forgiven." And behold, some of the scribes said to themselves, "This man is blaspheming." But Jesus, knowing their thoughts, said, "Why do you think evil in your hearts? For which is easier to say, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Rise and walk'? But that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins," he then said to the paralytic, "Rise, take up your bed, and go home." And he rose and went home. So we're all aware of biblical passages like this. And if you just read that part of it, you get a very clear inclination that Jesus was somehow the separate, special, only Son of God, who had miracle-working powers and perception. The fact that he could tell what the scribes were thinking. And so he was able to operate from a very high level, a higher level than any other human being. And that's what we get from the scriptures when we think in terms of the conditioning that we have had. It's actually genetically born into us, the whole idea of our separation from God. But now what I'd like you to do is be open a little bit, because I'm going to share with you what follows what I just read. This is what follows what I just read. You know, what you were looking at is that Jesus appears as a guy, as a paralyzed person, and Jesus says to them that I'm going to heal this guy, and the scribes say he's blaspheming. But then he goes ahead and said, "Rise, son, your sins are forgiven." And then he tells him to rise, take his bed up, go home. And all this takes place, and the crowd is watching, and this is what follows that. Can we have this on the PowerPoint? But that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins, he then said, and that means the authority to forgive errors, all errors. And he then said to the paralytic, "Rise, take up your bed and go home." And he rose and went home. When the crowd saw it, they were in awe, and they glorified God who had given such authority to people. That's what it says. That's literally what it says. It doesn't say when the crowd saw it, they were in awe, and they glorified God who had given such authority to Jesus. It doesn't say they glorified God who had given such authority to special avatars. It doesn't say they glorified God who had given such authority to the saints. It doesn't say that they glorified God who had given such authority to trained doctors. It doesn't say that they glorified God who had given such authority to the CDC. It doesn't say they glorified God who had given such authority to the World Health Organization. What it says is, they glorified God who had given the power to heal to all people, to release the errors, for all people have it. So now, we're asked to step into a different mindset. If you look at this and you want to embrace it, what you have to do to embrace it is you have to step away from the thinking of the world. And you have to step away bravely and courageously. And it's not an easy thing to do, because our entire lives, all we have been involved with is the thinking of the world. But now we're talking about something that the world does not agree with. does not believe in. And so it doesn't school our children in it. It doesn't give our media all that attention to share it. Look at the key word here. Had given such authority to people. That word authority is an interesting word because, you know, as we all grew up, we had all these authority figures that gave input and still give input and never stop giving input. The authority figures, of course, in the beginning are our parents. They're the authority figures. And then we have our teachers, and they become authority figures. And then we have the doctors that we're taken to, and they become the authority figures. And then we have the political people who are authority figures. We have the president, and he's an authority figure. And we have all these authority figures. We have all these people that we are beholden to listen to. And we have been conditioned from childhood to listen to them because it is the concept of the world thought that they know better. They know more. And so we're supposed to listen to them. But you see what happens to us in listening to the authority figures. We diminish any authority that we may have within ourselves. We don't have any contact whatsoever with that idea that God had given such authority to heal our errors, to heal ourselves, to all of us. We have no relationship to that. When we have things going wrong, we go out to find an authority who's going to do something for us. And that's the way we've been conditioned and trained. There's nobody to be blamed for it. It just happens to be the world that we were born into, raised in, and educated in. But what are we to make of that? This whole idea. And then you have those who stand out somewhat from the thinking of the world. And when they stand out and they challenge the thinking of the world, they usually don't do very well. Because it seems that we have watched down through the ages the masters of life who really were able to conduct the healing and bring about the miracles and lived in a divine consciousness beyond the physical time-space parameters. They were able to have stepped out of the time-space parameters and the worship of the strictly physical idea of self. They somehow or other stepped away from that and were more extraordinary and shared their truths only to find themselves being attacked and crucified and demeaned and diminished and lied about. So now let's take a careful look at this from A Course in Miracles. You can read this in the Course in Miracles text, page 203. That's the old text, and the new edition is on page 218. Miracles are merely the translation of denial into truth. See, that would have to take place in one's mind. The denial of our own divine ability, the divine nature that would have given us permission to dissolve and heal the errors of our lives. We would have to deny that. So miracles are merely the translation of denial into truth. If to love oneself is to heal oneself, those who are sick do not love themselves. Therefore, they are asking for the love that would heal them, but which they are denying to themselves. If they knew the truth about themselves, they could not be sick. The task of the miracle worker thus becomes to deny the denial of truth. And of course, the miracle worker is you and me and everyone. Because they're not talking about a special miracle worker. There's nobody named here that's going to be able to do that. They're talking about you and me. It's then up to the miracle worker. The sick must heal themselves, for the truth is in them. Yet, having obscured it, the light in another mind must shine into theirs, because that light is theirs. The light in them shines as brightly, regardless of the density of the fog that obscures it. If you give no power to the fog to obscure the light, it has none, for it has power only if the Son of God gives power to it. Unless we haven't stepped away from the teachings in the New Testament, because the Master of life and miracles and truth said to us, all of us, you are the light of the world. It could have been said this way: you are the light of your world, if you're willing to accept the responsibility of it. You see, if you shuck the responsibility that you are the light of your world, then you need to go to authority figures. Then it's not your own awareness and your own consciousness and your own mind that you look to guide you through the errors and the difficulties that you are facing in the world. You don't do that. You go to an authority figure somewhere who's going to help you through that particular challenge or difficulty or problem that you're having. So you're not involved yet, possibly, involved in knowing that the truth that will make you free actually right now resides within you. But you've been conditioned so long to believe that it doesn't. And who are you conditioned by to believe that it doesn't? Here, I'm starting now to step into trouble. I'm going to ask some of you to raise your hand at the end of this who will say you're not going to come back to unity. Because you see, if you can't at least be open to the possibility of what I'm saying, it can only bother you. So I will continue to get into trouble here. So when we look at the idea that we have not allowed ourselves, because we are conditioned so badly by the authority figures to do their bidding, who are the authority figures, especially in our Western culture? Come on, you know who they are. The authority figures are those people that are forever telling you, conditioning you to believe that you're only a consumer and that you need to be concerned because you don't have the ability to deal with your problems. So you're not the authority or the light of your own life. And who is more involved in that than those huge corporate entities that make money and want you to remain as consumers and unenlightened beings who are doing the bidding of what they say is taking place? And I guess you could look at the pharmaceutical companies and realize that all those commercials that they're doing on television to remind you that you're susceptible to get sick and you're susceptible to all the problems that there are, and you really need these medications and you need these doctors and you need all of these things that are not yours to give yourself. You're not the light of your life. You're not the authority figure. You're not who God said you were, capable of healing yourself. healing your life, healing your world, dispelling the errors of your experience? You're not. Not according to the authority figures. They do better, much better, if you remain afraid, susceptible, and sick. They do better because their God is not the one that shares the words of healing truth. Their God is money. And their lives are about how much money they can get, how much power they can amass, how great their authority can become, so that they can continue to propagate the illusions that hold human beings in limitation and fear and concern and wonder. And the master of life, who came and healed and healed and healed, left his words. But how did he leave them? Isn't it the most amazing thing that a carpenter's son, who lived 2,000 years ago, became an itinerant preacher, sharing these truths and demonstrating these truths? And what did he say? That will forever bother the authority figures of the world. He said, heaven and earth could pass away, but my words will never pass away. And when his disciples asked him how he could say things like that, they realized because his words are the words of truth. And that's why they will never go away. So, here we are on the horns of a dilemma because we have this strong conditioning. And what do we really need to give our attention to? It's not easy. If what I'm sharing with you were easy to grasp and embrace, you cannot even imagine how beautiful this world would be. How amazing it would be. How whole and magnificent it would be in every way. But it's not. Because the huge authority figures and the huge money corporate entities and the big shots on their boards of directors and their presidents, they live to keep you as consumers. They thrive on your illness and your fear. So it's not easy. The media is all about the illusionary interpretation of life. An illusionary interpretation of life that holds God separate and apart from us. An illusionary interpretation of life that is the conditioning of the illusion of separation that continues to create fear, and every manner of evil can be traced back to that one idea, that we are separate from one another. Can you imagine anybody who didn't really believe that being able to poison the waterways of our world with their chemicals from their factories without any real regard for what it might do to the people or the land or the creatures that live on the land? Except the fact that they believe, that they totally believe and want to continue to believe that they're separate. That's the underlying sin of all sins. It's the underlying idea of man's inhumanity to man. Can you imagine the inhumane things we see on television? The law cases taking place because we cannot tolerate someone else because of their color or their culture or their background or their creed or the way they study or their life force. We can't allow that because we have been trained to be isolated, separate, and fear-driven. Fear-driven. If you listen to the commercials that you see on this television, they all have that element, as subtle as it can possibly be, of fear, to continue to keep us afraid of checking in and possibly discovering that we are really the light of our own world. So now I'm going to, listen, I was just tiptoeing around the trouble. Did you see that? I'm not in trouble yet. I could walk away from this right now and not have created any trouble for myself at all. Who said that? Don't do it, Jack. All right. Somebody really cares about me. All right. I don't want anybody, look, when you leave, don't give an offering today because you deserve to be here free. All right. I'm going to skip the next overhead, the next PowerPoint. I'm going to go directly to the fourth PowerPoint, if you can do that. Here's the trouble. You can read this in the Course in Miracles workbook, page 263. While I'm reading this, you should say, what in our present lives is he really getting at? In our present lives, right now, what is he really getting at? Cure is a word that cannot be applied to any remedy the world accepts as beneficial. What the world perceives as therapeutic is but what will make the body better. When it tries to heal the mind, it sees no separation from the body, where it thinks the mind exists. Its forms of healing thus must substitute illusion for illusion. One belief in sickness takes another form, and so the patient now perceives himself as well. He is not healed, he merely had a dream that he was sick, and in the dream he found a magic formula to make him well. Yet he has not awakened from the dream, and so his mind remains exactly as it was before. Can we take us back again? You should be there saying, what presently is he pointing to? Okay? And as I said, all you have to do is believe that this is possibly true. Is it possibly true? Because that's the only first step you can take. You can't just rush and leap into it. You're going to say, you know what, I kind of trust Jack. That's what you have to say, I kind of trust him. And so you have to say, is this possibly true, what's being said here? Cure is a word that cannot be applied to any remedy the world accepts as beneficial. What the world perceives as therapeutic is but what will make the body better. When it tries to heal the mind, it sees no separation from the body, where it thinks the mind exists. So hold it right there. We're not permitted to leave the idea and interpretation of ourselves as a separate physical body. We're not permitted to do that, not by the authority figures, not by anyone. We're not permitted to do that. And so we must think that all of this illness, problems, difficulties, sickness, pains, and errors are body-oriented and not, listen to it, and not mind-created. All of our pains, problems, and difficulties, challenges, and fears are body-oriented, not mind-created. Then it goes on to say, therefore, its forms of healing thus must substitute illusion for illusion, because it's not the body, it is the mind. And where your mind is, there your life is. Where your mind is, there your experience is. One belief in sickness, therefore, takes another form. And so the patient now perceives himself as well. He is not healed. He merely had a dream that he was sick, and in the dream he found a magic formula to make him well. yet he is not awakened from the dream. And so his mind remains exactly as it was before, and she will be sick again, and again, and again, and again, and again. So where is the cure for the human dilemma? If what is really being said by the masters of life requires us to step beyond the present paradigm, which is controlled by the thinking of the world, if it says we must step beyond that, how do we do that unless we have at least some modicum of faith to do it? I know it's easier to hang out in churches. It's much easier. You can see by the numbers that fill those places, where they say that, don't worry about it. It's all taken care of because you've accepted Jesus as your personal Savior, and he's going to be there for you when you die. I don't have any problem with that. If that helps people feel better, feel comfortable, that's fine. What I'm saying is, if you want to find the life that Jesus was pointing to, it's going to require taking to task your own awareness, your own mind. That's what it's going to require. And to step beyond the mind and thinking of the world, you're going to have to step into another paradigm. And that paradigm is related over and over again by the teachings of the masters, and by the teachings of the Bible, and by the teachings of A Course in Miracles, and by the teachings of anyone that has been brave enough to stand up against the status quo. So what am I really talking about? What presently today? So it's saying today that there is no such thing as a cure that's offered by the world. The cure really will have to come from your mind if you're going to be cured indeed. But what is being offered by the authority figures of the world today? Why didn't the Bible say that God had given such authority to the CDC or to the World Health Organization or to trained doctors? Why didn't it say that? And yet, what's going on in the world today? And what it's saying here is that in our limited illusionary idea of life, which is a dream, we thought ourselves into being sick. And then somebody came along with a remedy. What? Hey, Jeff, what do you think? I got it. I got it, Jeff. Oh, look, we have enough money. No, listen, Jeff, listen. Vaccines. What? Vaccines. Add that to the dream. It's more money. Add it to the dream. All right, good. So we create a little more fear, and then we sell them the vaccines. Don't you see it? Yeah, that's great. We're going to have more money. Good. We'll have more power. Right. We'll have more prestige. Right. We'll be bigger authority figures. Incredible. Incredible idea. Okay, now wait. Don't run away. And I don't want applause. I want attention. I want your attention. So, when we can't get everybody to come aboard with everything we're doing, what do we have to do? What do we have to do? Well, we had this tiny little virus that started out and then was claiming all these different problems, and people were getting it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you see, they're not all buying it. We have to have new strains. Jeff, can we have new strains? Yes, Harry, new strains. We're not getting enough fear going. We need more, new strains. All right, we got new strains. Oh, how many? Well, let's start with 6. And let's say they're in Canada, they're in South America, we've got some in Texas, and we found some in Los Angeles, Oh, that'll sort, but it's not working. We need more. We need more. What about 20 strains? How many strains do we need? How many strains do we need to make the entire population afraid? And when we get them, we have all the vaccines we need to sell them. And we have the cure. There's the cure. I'm talking outside the box now. I don't have enough time to save my own ass. All right, so I'm going to, because this is the way it's going out on the tube. But what I need to get across is that entering this paradigm that we are called into, the new paradigm, where we become the light of the world, not only to ourselves, but to all others, because of this. Wrap your lovingness around this. Can we have that third PowerPoint, please? You can read this on 263 in the workbook of A Course in Miracles. Cure is a word that cannot be applied to any remedy the world accepts as beneficial. What the world perceives as therapeutic, I already did this one. I don't want this one. I want number, whatever the next one is. Can I have that? Okay, here it is. This is what I want you to share right now. I want you to get in touch with this, because this is the paradigm we have to embrace. Whenever, that's not the one I want. I have another one. See, people didn't realize that I actually have A Course in Miracles, memorized. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for putting up with my erratic way. We should be doing this in order, and these people are left out there hanging on a limb. I appreciate them. When I am healed, I am not healed alone. Today's idea remains the central thought on which salvation rests. For healing is the opposite of all the world's ideas which dwell on sickness and on separate states. Sickness is a retreat from others and a shutting off of joining. It becomes a door that closes on a separate self and keeps it isolated and alone. Sickness is isolation, for it seems to keep oneself apart from all the rest, to suffer what the others do not feel. It gives the body final power to make the separation real and keep the mind in solitary prison, split apart and held in pieces by a solid wall of sickened flesh in which it cannot surmount. The world obeys the laws that sickness serves, but healing operates apart from them. It is impossible that anyone be healed alone. In sickness must he be apart and separate. But healing is his own decision to be one again and to accept his self with all its parts intact and unassailed. No one can be healed alone, because the key to healing is in the mind. And when you enter in the new paradigm of mind, what you discover in having your faith to enter that and to begin to deny the authority figures that have lived in your mind, to begin to deny them and have the courage to deny them, and you enter into that, what happens is, what are you entering into? You're entering in to the presence of God. You're entering into the presence of healing love. What does that mean? It says, I can't be healed alone, because the moment I accept that I am divine in nature and that my entire being is involved in joy, love, and blessing, I cannot deny it to any other human being. When you enter into the state of mind that the masters are calling us into, everything you look at, everything you look upon is part of you. You actually do feel connected with and a part of everything you look at. Can you see how that absolutely annihilates, does away with the underlying sin of all sins, which is separation? In separation, you can poison the streams, poison the water, poison the people, doesn't matter. Give them whatever you have to give them. Steve, keep making the money. But if you enter into the mind of God and love and realize that everything that lives, lives because God gave it life and is seeking to understand itself as God life, then you have a feeling for everything you look upon. There's no way you would ever think anything or do anything that would not be in keeping with what you would do for yourself. You see, it's the end of tribulation, the end of a sick, sick world, the end of finding fault and envy and hate. It's the end of that. So we can't go out there. There's no way you can go out there and make all of those people who have been badly conditioned to do the right thing. You can legislate from time to the end of time. You can try to, get your politicians to do whatever you think you need them to do. You can't make anybody else kind. You can't make anybody else compassionate. You can't make anybody else honest. You can't make anybody else loving. You can't make anybody else. You can only make yourself kind, compassionate, and loving. You can only become the emissary of deep consideration in recognizing that everything, absolutely everything, is sacred, and every sacred thing you look at is struggling to find the light of its own life. And you can't make it do the right thing. They have to want it. And the only way they will want it is if your love is so great that they sense the presence of God in you.
Isn't meditation the most important thing people need to do in order to come into the strength of that understanding? Isn't that why the Maharishi came when we were in darkness and we turned our life around? We got into Edgar Casey, we got into meditation. Isn't it meditation gives you the strength to have that light being that is needed on this planet at this time? Can we not give but 15 to 20 minutes a day, every day, to that silence, to get that strength, to stand up against this nonsense?
Ushers, will you remove that lady? So, that was my higher self sharing the how-to. It really is important to withdraw from the thinking of the world a portion every day. You're still in the world, you still have to be of the world, and there's nothing wrong with enjoying the particular opportunities you get and trying to improve your physical lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you really want to improve your life, you have to have a spiritual practice. And what Norma is sharing is that if you take some time every day to be quiet, meditate, 10, 15 to 20 minutes, is all you need to, you see, when you're doing that, what you stop is the incessant thinking from the false idea of self. The incessant thinking, because it's afraid, is forever trying to contrive ways to make your future better physically. that you got to do things that are going to bring more money that you can use to work your trip so you can get around the difficulties and problems you're facing. Well, there's nothing wrong with trying to be okay and have enough money to live on and all that. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's going to get that way because the masters of life say, if you come to me, this is the masters of life speaking about God. If you come to me, everything you need will be taken care of. But you must come to me. You can't stay with the authority figures. That requires taking time every day to meditate and to carry your meditation with you so that you can become an instrument of blessing. And when you go out into the world every day, you go out there with one priority: to be appropriate to the moment, to bring peace to that moment, to bring kindness to the moment, to bring compassion to the moment, to bring truth to the moment. And we will, I can squeeze in a 2-minute meditation. I'll just take a few minutes here to become still. And let's become aware of the presence and open ourselves to recognize that praying is a pathway to the presence of God. The ultimate purpose of praying is to become aware of the presence of God as love. And in so doing, we are igniting the collective consciousness in the love of God. Just remembering to breathe when you're facing a particular challenge. Remember to pause and breathe, because breathing is a miracle, and breathing is a mantra, a prayer that brings us more into the presence of the healing love that is God. Breathing is a mantra, is a prayer. Remembering to breathe, and just breathe and allow that refined intelligence to rise in any time of trouble. Let's do that now. Just imagine that your body is a complete vacuum and that the breath is a golden light that fills your body from the tips of your toes to the top of your head. As you recognize that breathing is a miracle, breathing is a mantra. And as you breathe in the refined golden light of life, it filling your body from the tips of your toes to the top of your head, releasing that golden light through the pores of your body into the world. You feeling lighter, you feeling free, you feeling the presence, you knowing you are one with God. Just breathing in the refined golden light of life. It's filling your body from the tips of your toes to the top of your head, and releasing that light into the world, and knowing the words that will never go away, that have come down through the ages. You are the light of the world. Let your light so shine before others that they might see your peace and harmony and recognize the presence of God in themselves. And so it is forever. Amen. We will take an offering for unity now, and we'll do it in our COVID restriction fashion. Those of you that are watching on the screen, you have all these different ways that you can make a donation to Unity of Boulder so that we can continue our ministry here and our work. And those of you that are here in this physical audience, and we'd like to see more of you here, we do have baskets in the lobby that you can leave a physical offering there, or you can just, like everybody else, make your donation in this way. So what we do now is we bring to mind that financial gift we'd like to make to Unity of Boulder, and we bless it with this affirmative prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is. Amen. Just a quick reminder to you, before we have the final entertainment, we have prayer partners here that are there for you. If you have a specific challenge that you'd like to pray with someone about, just remain seated. When everyone else is filing out, prayer partners will come to you and they will take you down to our beautiful meditation room and share a prayer with you.
Sometimes life comes in waves. Each wave is purified. Dissolution of attachments wipes the tears back from our eyes. No judgment or evaluation, no boundaries are erased. Images that blind us disappear without a trace. There's a place that we must go, a place where we must be. The circle always changes. Change will let us see the way back to our center. It's the core we must embrace, built from the foundation, bricks of love and grace, of
They sang the perfect song. We build with bricks of love and grace. Let's do that. Okay, we do have a kind of a fellowship taking place. I don't know if we put any tea over there today, but Fellowship Hall is open if you stay 6 feet apart according to the regulations. You can go over there and talk, and I'll stop over there and talk as well. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. I want to let you know that we actually purify our sanctuary with UV lights before you get here. So this is a pretty safe place to be if you're still operating in the world thinking paradigm. And I want to thank you for all for tuning in, and I'd like to see more and more of you showing up at our physical services right here. And now we're going to have our closing benediction in song. What's it going to be? I release and I let go.
Yeah. I need a guitar that's in tune.
All right. See. I release and I let go. Here we go. The words are up. Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. Those are our prayer partners in the white scarves. Okay.